Ladies and gentlemen, we have a bloodbath. The Xbox layoffs has finally been announced, and Asher Sharma put out a very long tweet about the entire situation and the future of Xbox. In today's video, let's talk about if Xbox have gone too far, or if this was exactly what Xbox needed to do.
Were it so easy.
Also, let's get into how Xbox got here to begin with. Hello, everybody. It's your boy Jmulls, and is Halo cooked?
Say what?
The downfall of Xbox has been well documented and talked about extensively over the last few years. I would argue it began all those years ago in the lead up to the Xbox One, an absolute textbook generational fumble when it comes to announcing new hardware. And it really does feel as if Xbox has never really managed to recover. So what is Xbox's response today? Well, according to Asher Sharma, the CEO of Xbox, we are beginning the most significant restructure in Xbox history. After careful consideration, I've made the difficult decision to reduce our team by approximately 3,200 throughout financial year 27. This will include approximately 1,600 role eliminations today, and in addition, 4 studios will leave Xbox to new management. It is very important to note, to my understanding of what's happening, no studios are actually closing. Instead, Xbox are basically cutting studios and allowing them to go find, well, their own path to the future and also keep their IP. This is clarified later in the post. Compulsion Games and Double Fine Productions will return to management and transition to independent studios with their IP, catalog, and runway for their next games. Ninja Theory and Undead Labs have entered terms to join new ownership with funding to complete and grow Senua and State of Decay 3. In France, Arcane's management is beginning required consultation with its work council to review potential strategic options. So for a lot of people who were concerned about games like State of Decay 3 or Senua getting cancelled after just being announced at the Xbox Game Showcase, that is not happening. It's just those studios and those games will no longer be directly under Xbox. And in my opinion, for those games and those studios, probably the best possible outcome out of all of this. We are also making reductions across other units, and in some cases, shifting investment to focus on higher priority projects. These changes vary in size across Activision, Bethesda, ZeniMax, Blizzard, King, yeah, the Candy Crush people, Mojang, Minecraft, and Xbox Game Studios. None of our first-party publicly announced games or projects are being cancelled as part of these reductions. If you were following a lot of the reports and rumors going around about these layoffs, you will know that was one of the main issues going around. In addition, Mojang and King will now report directly to me, Power Move. These two studios have increasingly become platforms and are our largest by monthly active players. They bring critical geographic, demographic, and differentiation to Xbox. In a lot of ways, Asher Sharma's post here sounds like a shareholders meeting, not gonna lie. Though personally, I kinda like the transparency. And by kinda, I mean a lot. Returning to the front of the post, difficult decision to reduce our team by approximately 3,200 throughout financial year 27. This will include approximately 1,600 role eliminations today, and in addition, 4 studios that we just talked about will leave Xbox to new management. I recognize that a year-long restructuring creates additional challenges. Unfortunately, it is not possible to make all the necessary changes in a single day, and I wanted to be direct about the scale. I understand the knee-jerk reaction a lot of people online have when it comes to big layoffs in the games industry and just across tech right now. A lot of large systemic issues that are occurring in the games industry are a direct result of poor management at the top. And when you see essentially the grunts getting the, well, let's call it the short end of the stick here, and a lot of the people that are truly responsible for the state of everything just going badly aren't feeling ramifications, it can feel like an injustice. However, I do think context is important here. Let's face facts and let's be brutally honest. Xbox has been a laughingstock, and it hasn't just been over the last year. Xbox has been a laughingstock and essentially the gaming lolcow since the Xbox One. It's had a few things go right over the years. Don't get me wrong, it hasn't been all bad, but I think it's clear to everyone, or at least most people, that have been following the games industry and been following Xbox over these long years. It hasn't managed to recapture the magic and charm that it had with the original Xbox or with my main era with Xbox, which was the 360. It just hasn't been able to do that. And while a lot of people will point to things like Xbox Game Pass just being a business model that is not sustainable, or point to Xbox going multi-platform, to me, the biggest crippling flaw that Xbox has had ever since the One has been its game catalog. It's had some okay games over the years, and some games that people have fallen in love with, but to me, it hasn't had those consistently, generationally great games for a very long time. It hasn't been able to release a whole host of games on a consistent basis that are to the quality people would want and expect out of a major publisher publisher and also console developer like Xbox. That's not to say the games are necessarily bad, or that even some of the games don't sell well. I think it's more a matter of budget and scale. It seems like one of Xbox's strategies for the longest time has been to understand that, hey, we are Microsoft. If we need to and want to, we can just throw money at the problem. But they're doing it inefficiently, and they're doing it in a way that is clearly not sustainable, especially when you report your earnings to Microsoft management and they just go, so we're giving you all this money, all of these resources, this much time, and we are operating at margins that are 3 to 10 times lower than comparable platforms and publishing businesses. Despite the fact we are Microsoft here, we entered Gen 9 with a smaller install base and higher cost structure. Despite being Microsoft here, to grow, we bet on Game Pass, multi-platform, and a broader portfolio of content. While those businesses have created meaningful value, they did not grow at the pace we expected. As that happened, our core business weakened and we added more teams, more investment, and more time, hoping for a better outcome. Clearly that has not happened. And now the industry is facing the most severe hardware crisis in its history. We must reset Xbox. We can't be surprised when Microsoft and Xbox do something this extreme, after many people talking about and theorizing that Xbox may just leave the console scene. Like, when were those rumors circulating? Like a couple months ago? It wasn't that long ago. And for a company like Microsoft, this next statistic, completely unacceptable. We have also learned that we are not the best home for every type of studio. In a typical year, we lost 64 cents for every dollar we invested. I don't know which is more dangerous to somebody's mental well-being, being part of the Hunger Games or trying to report to Microsoft shareholders that every time you give us $1, you are going to lose 64 cents. In the corporate world, when you produce something like that, people are gonna get canned. Sometimes the wrong people are gonna get canned, but people are gonna get canned nonetheless. And this isn't me trying to run defense for what Xbox is doing right now. What I'm really saying here is that this didn't come out of the sky.
I am a monument to all your sins.
It was obvious Xbox was either going to have to adapt and change its business strategy, or it was going to wither on the vine and die. There was no alternative. If you continue to do what you've been doing, that is a failed business strategy. You are going to fail. And there's levels of managerial mismanagement so extreme that it feels borderline parody here. We know that great technology gets better when it gets simpler, not bigger. Today, in some parts of the company, work passes through as many as 14 layers of management. Holy hell. Our platform teams are 40% larger than they were at the start of this generation, even as our player base and playtime have declined. So your numbers are going down, but you're putting in more money and you have 14 layers of management in some places. Do you see what I mean when it's obvious something had to change here? That complexity has slowed decisions, blurred accountability, and made it harder to deliver for players, I bet. As we reset Xbox, we will simplify. I like the sound of what's coming up, by the way. We will reduce management layers to no more than 5, and where possible, 3. The big tres, maybe a trois, and maybe an un more than dos. I've heard it both ways. We will deliver success through a flatter organization that is built around makers. Bro, who remembers Maker Studio? Not particularly relevant to this, just like the name gave me like Vietnam flashbacks. Individual contributors focused on building, player coaches, leaders who remain deeply involved in the work while developing their teams, and directly responsible individuals, DRIs, who own key decisions and outcomes. And we will streamline how we work across our tools with a cleaner code base, shared services, and 50% reduced vendor spend. See what I mean when I said this really kind of like sounds like a presentation to a shareholder? Now, this next bit is absolutely mind-blowing. And like when I read this entire statement from Asher Sharma, it makes me wonder how the heck Xbox got anything done all the way up to now. For the first time, we are establishing a chief operating officer, a COO, with end-to-end P&L responsibility across content, hardware, platform, and services. Brother, how the hell did you not have a COO? That's like one of the most like typical positions in a corporation. Helen Chiang has been promoted to this role and will report directly to me. This is one of the things that Asher Sharma has been really emphasizing throughout this post. There are quite a few positions directly reporting to her. One of the main things that have been talked about when it comes to Xbox game development for a while at this point was that Xbox just kind of let people do what they want. Just be like, yeah, here's a bunch bunch of money, make us a game. Yeah, do whatever the heck you want. It's fine. Just make us a game. But I really feel as if one of the major like crippling flaws of Xbox game development was that they would just give these studios bags of money and budgets wildly out of control, and they would design a game that is clearly more niche in terms of like who it's targeting, who it's appealing to. A game like Grounded or a game like South of Midnight, they're fine by themselves and they're going to find an audience that loves those games. But you also have to be realistic about how wide and large those audiences are going to be. There's nothing wrong with having small scale games with smaller scale budgets. This is one of Nintendo's strong suits. It's one of the reasons I think Nintendo is arguably winning the console war. Some people will disagree with me on that, but it's one of the reasons Nintendo has seen such success over the years. They have a sense of scale. They know you have to have these big budget games that get a lot of publicity and a lot of eyes. But it's also important to have a wealth of various sized games that are able to appeal to a bunch of different interests and niches. Not every game is going to appeal to everybody, but if the game can be made with a focused and precise budget, then it can still see success even if it's not shipping millions and millions of units. Combine all of this with clearly Xbox Game Pass not going to plan for them, and it's not really a surprise how we got here. Over nearly 2 decades at Xbox, Helen has helped build some of our most important businesses, from Xbox Live to leading Mojang and the Minecraft franchise. She will bring our businesses together under one operating model, making sure we make clear investment decisions, learn from our successes and failures, and hold ourselves accountable for results. It really does feel as if Xbox is going to have a far more direct hand when it comes to developing the games it's going to put out. That's not necessarily for the best, because it depends upon if the people overseeing all of these things are competent enough and know enough. I can't speak for Helen Chang here. I am unfamiliar with her work and I'm unfamiliar with like recent Minecraft stuff. I am hoping for the best. What I'm trying to say here though is I think this is a good decision in terms of overall strategy. It still depends on execution though. But this sounds infinitely better than whatever the heck Microsoft and Xbox were doing before this. Now, I don't know what the hell Asher Shum is yapping about down here. I want Xbox to be one of the few companies that entertains more than 1 billion people each day and gives everyone the opportunity to create and connect. You are not doing that with a console. That is like Candy Crush. That's like the mobile sector, stuff like that. I highly doubt you would get to that figure any other way. In fact, that sounds like a figure so grandiose in scale that it's deliberately designed to be tantalizing to shareholders, to give Xbox a bit more time and to give Microsoft upper management something to chew on and say, well, if we continue to invest in this product that are making a bunch of changes to the core foundation, if we can get to 1 billion users each day, well, I want a piece of that pie. So it kind of feels like they want the dog to shut up, so they're giving the dog a bone, or at least the promise of a bone. Now, this next bit I do agree with. I know we can achieve this goal. Xbox has many of the most beloved franchises in entertainment history, talented studios around the world, and we will return to growth in 2027. This is the big one for me, because Xbox obviously has the IPs. They have the games. It's just a matter of creating new entries in these games.
But so much of me is wrong. Out of place. You might be too late.
I firmly believe the success and failure of Xbox is directly linked to Halo. What Mario is to Nintendo, Halo should be to Xbox. It's their core, it's their brand, it's what got them on the map to begin with. Halo has been widely mismanaged over the years. And again, just like Xbox overall, it had a few high points, a few cool moments, but the general trajectory has been going down. It's not down and out or anything like that. You can still easily save the IP, and I think you can still save Xbox. And I think a lot of the practices that Asher Sharma talked about in that post can move Xbox in a direction for success. But you still have to get a couple things correct. You have to get the exact right people in the exact right roles to steer these ships, to create these games, to create these stories, build on these worlds. I firmly disagree with the notion that franchises like Gears of War or Halo or whatever only succeeded because of the time period they were in. Is that a factor? Yes. Does that mean the games have to suck now? No. Trying to justify the current state of Halo by saying Bungie Halo and the old style of Halo only worked because of the time period it was in is redirecting blame to societal factors instead of the root cause of the issue. What was being developed simply wasn't good enough. Might be fine for other IPs, but it's not fine for Halo. We have waited years for a new Halo entry, and the best we're getting so far, we know more is coming, but so far, since 2020, what are we getting? a remake of Combat Evolved. That's simply not good enough. And I think going off of what Asher Sharma has been saying, they know that as well. Like Xbox overall, that is unacceptable. That cannot happen again. Main core IP have been neglected for far too long with few new entries, and they consistently try to change what the identity of the franchise is. They try to say they're being faithful to the original identity and going back to basics, and then they do the opposite. Xbox needs to stop being afraid of what it was, because what it was great. What it's become is mediocrity. There clearly needs to be more oversight. One of my biggest disappointments lately when it comes to a game I was looking forward to, and then with the recent reveal of a new trailer, I've kind of lost all interest. Clockwork Revolution. When they first showed this game off, I thought it looked really dang cool. And then at the Xbox Game Showcase, they had characters talk, and it was some of the most unlikable, unfunny, most off-putting dialogue I've seen since Dragon Age the Veil God. And it's a shame because a lot of other elements when it comes to this game seem really promising, but I have no desire to interact with this game if I have to suffer through that dialogue and through those characters. I just don't want to do it. It's a similar critique that I have when it comes to a lot of Xbox games, when it comes to a lot of modern games overall, not just Xbox. It's clear from even like Asher Sharma's own admission with all those layers of management, you were giving far too much time and credence to people that either didn't know what they were doing or their goals ran counter to what people actually wanted out of Xbox, out of these games. And I've talked about for a while now at this point, particularly on stream, that one of the biggest crippling flaws with a lot of like modern Western gaming is that throughout the 2000s and early 2010s, gaming made a lot of money, and a lot of big money people saw how much money that gaming was bringing in, and they wanted a slice of that pie because of course they did. So they got into gaming, but they weren't gamers. They didn't know what gamers wanted. They just wanted a slice of that pie. So they hired down the chain of command people that they thought could grow the business to markets that weren't being serviced by gaming as is. So they tried to no longer appeal to people that fell in love with these IPs, with these worlds, with these games to begin with, in hopes of appealing to a whole bunch of other people to varying degrees of success. Let's be very kind there. It's like trickle-down idiocy. And then over the years, we have seen the result of that. Writing that feels off-putting, design that feels wild and out there for no particular reason, and a lot of games that feel more like a checklist of tags instead of a cohesive experience meant to be an enjoyable and immersive video game. They care more about checking certain boxes than they do about constructing a game that is fun, replayable, that people want more of. All the while, the people at the top don't know what's going on because they don't particularly care about gaming. They treat it like it's any other business, but it's not, because gaming is unique.
Thought I'd try shooting my way out. Mix things up a little.
You can't just follow trends blindly. Games take a long time to develop, especially now. Look at the cluster of incompetence going on with PlayStation and Sony right now as a result of Marathon and Destiny. You try to chase these trends, or even possibly get out ahead of them, but these games take so many years to develop. By the time these games come out, they're old news. You might garner a little bit of an audience, but it's clearly not to the scale and size you wanted it to be. And these IPs, these stories, these worlds, and the people that were fans of what these IPs originally were suffer as a direct result because they no longer get the thing they were interested in to begin with. They go to a burger shop and then they find out, well, we only have 2x4s in the menu. Well, that's cool and all, but I went to a burger shop. I want a burger here. Then you get a bunch of people that get all in their feelings because their vision for the current IP is being actively rejected by the people that fell in love with an IP to begin with. But then they steadfastly refuse to go back to what people enjoyed to begin with. And then sometimes it feels like games get designed and developed in certain ways out of spite more so than to create an engaging product, to own some people on Twitter or Reddit or whatever, because people are too stubborn to admit they were wrong about something. So instead of admitting that they were wrong, they want to shift and augment these franchises away from what people actively liked and want out of them. I would know. I'm a Halo fan, and if Gears of War E-Day is an indication to the future direction of Xbox, it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it looks a hell of a lot better than what we had before. So I'm not gonna whinge and moan about, oh, we're getting even more layoffs in the games industry. Yeah, I'm absolutely certain some people that are getting laid off right now absolutely don't deserve it. 100%, not a doubt in my mind. But I'm also not gonna act like this came out of the freaking sky. With the state that Xbox were in for a long time, that being a joke, by the way, of course some change was going to be needed. And like I said before, they were either going to change and adapt or they were going to die. There's no middle ground here. Does this mean Xbox is back? Or Xbox is going to go back to the days of the 360? No, it doesn't mean that. It's a wait and see. Could they be gutting a lot of positions just to replace them with AI? Possibly. Wouldn't surprise me at all. Will Xbox even potentially get worse? It's entirely possible. The future for Xbox is a giant question mark right now. But is the future being up in the air necessarily better than just whatever the heck they were before? Well, time will tell. I think there's a world out there where Xbox can get back in form, but they have to nail game development. They have to get these games in a position to where they are generational again. They can do it. It's a question of will they? Because things like practices, exclusivity, none of that will matter if your games aren't good enough. At the end of it all, you have to bring the games. God, please let the next Halo game outside of Campaign Evolve be really good. Oh, if Halo can just be back, I'd be happy, man. I'd be so happy.
Don't make a girl a promise if you know you can't keep it.
I hope for the best out of Xbox. They have some of my favorite IPs in all of gaming. I love Halo and I want Halo to be back. It's been so grossly mismanaged for so long. Who knows? Maybe they'll take one more spiritual reboot. Who knows? But here's where you come in. Leave a comment down below with your favorite IP that Xbox has right now, what you want to see out of the future for Xbox, and where you think it all went wrong for them. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm really looking forward to E-Day. That Gears of War E-Day Direct looked really good to me. Like I said, it's not perfect, but overall, it looked amazing. And like a really good return to form in a lot of ways. Felt like a modern day Xbox 360 game in all of the right ways. And while you're down there, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And now let's move on to whatever the heck's going on with PlayStation. They're killing physical games. Well, in 2028 they are. And it's been a massive controversy because, you know, the gaming industry doesn't have enough of those. You want to find out what's going on with PlayStation killing physical gaming? At least for PlayStation games. Check out this video right here for more. Thank you all for tuning in. Stay safe. Have a great day. And I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.